and this is a quick look at the LG G8 ThinQ. As you can see, there's a notch at the top. The 6.1-inch display looks lovely thanks to the flagship specs we've come to expect in a phone like this. The phone feels great to hold. It's roughly comparable to the Galaxy S10 in size. All of the other specs are just as high-end. 6 gigs of RAM isn't technically as good as it gets, but it's still decent even in a flagship phone. LG has continued its focus on audio with the Hi-Fi Quad DAC. The G8 is nearly indistinguishable from last year's G7 from the front. If you look closely, there's a little less chin below the display, but that's about it. The design is comfortably rounded all around. At 8.4mm, it's a hair thicker than the competition, but I'm absolutely fine with that. The back is relatively plain, with just a fingerprint reader and a small camera area sitting completely underneath the smooth glass back. It's been a while since we've seen a flagship with no camera hump at all. As we've come to expect from LG, the extra camera is for wide-angle shots. I find wide-angle cameras surprisingly useful. The impressive f1.5 aperture of the main camera should help with low light performance. The 3.5mm audio jack lives on. LG has kept its tool that lets you minimize the obviousness of the notch and customize how it looks. I wish every phone with a notch had this. There are no speaker holes on top because LG has made the whole top half of the display the speaker. So why is the notch so big? That's to make room for the 3D depth camera system, which LG calls the Z camera. It helps produce excellent selfie portraits, but it also does a few other really neat things. The first is 3D face scanning, which offers a secure unlock feature like Apple's Face ID. But if you want to leave your phone flat on your desk, the G8 can also scan the unique vein pattern in your palm. Just hold your palm over the notch, and voila! Counting the fingerprint reader, that gives you 3 biometric security options, and they can all be active at once. Neat. Even neater is the mid-air gestures. Hover your palm over the notch, then when you see the bright animated bar under the notch, make a claw gesture. Then move your hand left or right to trigger one of 2 shortcuts. Or twist your hand to control the volume, like you're turning a virtual knob. The best part of how LG did this is the real-time feedback in the middle, showing your hand just as the sensor sees it. That makes it really intuitive and easy to position your hand correctly, and that's smart. As you might expect, the camera app is powerful. There are a ton of pro-level features, like manual shutter speeds up to 30 seconds, a manual video mode, a video portrait mode, and the studio portrait modes popularized by Apple. Back to that screen-based speaker for a second. It honestly sounds pretty great, and creates a decent stereo effect together with the speaker on the bottom. It also has some unique advantages over a typical earpiece, such as much larger sweet spot, and you can press it against your head in noisy areas to get an effect much like bone conduction. So what's the verdict? Well, the Z camera features were a bit slow and unreliable in the early unit we tried, but that should be fixable in software, and if LG does that, they'll be really slick. This stuff is absolutely the future. LG is on the bleeding edge here. But you can also ignore the Z camera completely, and the G8 is still an impressive, well-rounded